Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I thought I would do for you guys, and this is perfect timing on this, a very important injury prevention and safety video. And again, I kind of took a little bit of a chance today, and it popped in my head, you know what, I just had somebody ask me in the Q&As yesterday, which I answered, why do I use collars on my bench press, because it's kind of that, man, aren't you worried about not being able to get out from under the weight? And I went ahead and tried to push one more set I wasn't 100% sure I could get on my bench press today. And you guys know I do high set training. What I do right now on a lot of my main exercises, I work towards doing 10 sets. And when I can complete 10 sets with perfect form on an exercise, I increase the weight. Right now I've been rebuilding my bench press because I didn't bench for a year and a half. And I haven't hit failure on a bench yet. And a lot of people are like, man, I mean, you're moving a decent amount of weight. It's not super heavy. I mean, like right now, 275, that's not bone-crushing poundages. Yeah, sure, I'm pause benching. It's not bone-crushing. But, what happens if you miss a rep? You have collars on the bar. You have no spotters. And, yeah, that's the point, guys. And I want to cover for you guys a couple of different facets of benching safely without spotters. Because, honestly, I don't think you need spotters on the bench press if you know how to perform the exercise, you know how to set up correctly, and you're not using maxes, meaning you're not using maxes and you're not training equipped. All right, equipped lifting is a different animal. If you're a raw lifter, you're a raw pause bencher, which is what 99% of you are going to be, it really isn't the issue that people make it out to be. And anyone who dies on a bench press or gets hurt, pinned under a bar, it gets to their neck, they don't actually know how to bench press. I know guys are like, I don't know, this one guy, he's been benching a decade. Yeah, but you can do something for a decade and still not know how to do it. Common sense, guys. Now, when you guys watch me here, I just grabbed my last 3 sets, and I'm going to loop them through here from my high set workout. Yeah, I miss a rep on this one, and it lands right in my chest, and there's some things I want you guys to notice when I get to it. The main thing is that from the time I get stuck under the bar until I put the barbell on the floor is exactly 4 seconds. In other words, I had that bar on the floor faster than anyone could even run over to pick it up off my chest. Now, there are several components to this that you need to understand when you're setting up. First of all, notice when I set up, my face and my throat are behind the J-hooks. All right? That is critically important. In other words, people say, well, a bar could hit your neck. No, it can't. It's not physically possible. If you know how to set up a bench press correctly, it is physically impossible for the bar to hit you in the throat. All right, your setup's important. You shouldn't move the bar that far from the J-hooks. Notice I don't move it that far to re-rack it. All right, that's an important aspect of it. Now, if you know how to bench press, you're also going to bench press below the nipple line. No one who really knows how to bench press safely, who cares about their shoulder joints, is ever going to bring the bar above their nipple. So in other words, when you unrack it, the bar is at best above your clavicle when it's in the J-hooks at the top, right? So if it's just above your clavicle when it's in the J-hooks, when it comes down, those posts in the way will stop it from reaching your throat. And you don't have to move it very far. If you move the bar 4 or 5 inches down, or 6 inches, let's say you start with the bar 6 inches out of your bar path, that's still going to be above your chest, not above your neck, when it's racked completely back in the safety hooks, the J-hooks. So, in other words, if you bench press to your lower chest like you're supposed to, which will save your rotator cuffs, and you're set under the bench far enough, the bar can never physically reach your neck. It is not physically possible. Also, if you're touching the bar to your lower chest, it isn't that far for you to go down. Now, some people will be like, well, I'm benching a weight I'm not strong enough to do that with. Well, back to another point. Why are you weak? Why don't you do deadlifts and rows and other big exercises so that all your back muscles and everything else is strong enough that you can just drop it into your lap? You should be able to do that. It's not that far of a jump. And if you already have your chest up, bar comes down there, you can just pop it down, right? Your core and your lower back and everything else should be strong enough for you to just put it there and just put it on your lap and then put it on the floor. You can't row as much as your work sets on your bench. You can't lower the weight. Look how easy that is. It was easy. And a lot of it has to do with your setup, where you position it, your setup. You're protecting your neck. It can't get hit. And if you put the bar in the right spot on the way down and your bar path is correct, the bar never drifts above any of that. Now, number 2, right here, when I unrack the bar, watch what I do. I unrack it, and I let the bar settle. You don't lower the bar immediately when you unrack it. Why? Because you might have your elbows bent when it's higher up on your chest where you can get hurt. Well, if you have an accident on the bench press and the bar does come down to your upper chest, you are going to possibly tear a pec or you're going to damage a rotator cuff. So again, letting the bar settle. So you set up correctly. You have your throat and neck completely behind the post. And since you're benching to your lower chest, when you unrack it, you let the bar settle. You let the bar settle before you lower it over your correct bar path, over the spot. You take time and let it get in the right position before you lower it. It's basic bench safety. Same thing, when you go to re-rack it, you lock it and then you re-rack it. You don't ever drift that bar. If you're failing the rep, you guys notice when I noticed I failed, I looked to the side, saw the bar coming down, I let it come down to my chest. Why? Because the worst thing you could do if you don't want to get hurt, why in the world would you try to re-rack a weight when you haven't locked it? You're going to drift the bar out of your strong angle and it's going to come above your upper chest. If that bar comes down to your upper chest and it's a heavy weight, what's going to happen? You're going to damage a rotator cuff. You do not try to re-rack a weight that you have not locked, ever, for any reason. You never lower the bar until you have it settled into position after you unrack it, and you never re-rack the bar until you have fully locked it out. That way you don't ever risk the bar coming down outside of your power groove that's your safe protected shoulder. See there, I let it come down. I didn't try to re-rack it even though there's hooks up there. Why would I do that? You risk damaging a rotator cuff. You risk damaging a pec. Guys get hurt on the bench press because they're stupid and they don't follow basic safety precautions. All right, it's that simple. You lower it down and then you put it on the floor. People who tip the bar to the side because they don't use collars, those assholes need to be thrown out of a gym the very first time it happens. They need to be banned from every gym for the rest of their life. They're not safe around other people because that's how people get hurt. Why would you need to tip it? See how easy I just drop it on my lap and set it down? And that was a failure. I failed that rep. I was exhausted. That was it. I was way deep into my workout. I was an hour into bench pressing. I was fatigued, but I still was able to do that. And it's all about bar path position, not trying to rack or unrack a weight or lower it at the wrong time. Your setup, it's all about the setup. Now to the other point, people who do touch and go bench, people who do partials on the bench, what happens when those jackasses fail a rep? They rip a pec off the bone. They rip a pec off the bone because they don't know how to work out. They don't know how to train. All right, if you touch and go on the bench all the time and you don't pause on at least 90% of your work sets, or you do partials and you stop short of your chest, what happens when you miss a rep? You have no strength mobility at the bottom. You have no strength mobility. So let's say you stop up there 4 inches short, like where it gets hard for me. You stop there, what happens? You're now using a weight that might be 50 pounds heavier than you can do in the full range of motion, even for your work sets. What happens when that comes down and you miss a rep? You snap stuff. You pop stuff completely off the bone. You rip pecs. You destroy shoulders. Partial reps will get you hurt when you miss reps. Touch and go. Too much touch and go training will get you hurt when you miss reps because you're used to not having to stretch the chest at the bottom. You're not used to pausing a heavy weight and holding it on your chest for a second. So when you are finally forced to, the muscle can't cope with it. Particularly when the muscle's reached failure, it's exhausted and you have no strength mobility out of the bottom because you never leave the pec stretched with a heavy weight. You're not used to it. Not used to doing it all the time. And when it comes down and it hits there, you get hurt. You injure yourself. Partial reps and excessive touch and go training causes pec tears and shoulder injuries when you fail a bench press. This is why I promote setting up correctly This is why I don't really use spotters, because failing a bench press, if you set up correctly and you've trained correctly, you don't rip pecs. You don't damage your shoulders, and when you get stuck under the bar, it takes 4 seconds to put it back on the floor. That's it. It's just very, very simple, guys. So I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.